All right, hello everyone, welcome back to the stream. It's going to be, well, it's kind of an early morning Sunday stream, I don't know. I'm kind of a mess, my hair is still drying, but I was just too excited to do another stream and just do some work on the multiplayer stuff. I know that a lot of people watch these VODs and I like going on the stream and just chatting with everyone and just generally showing you how I'm approaching building all this stuff. I think it's fun. And so, yeah, going to be continuing on that today. I think I want to do some more itemization work. And then, yeah, I think I'm going to really try to lean into the combat focus and make that feel good. I'm going to need skills, skilled trees, and all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to figure out, still a lot of work to do. But you know, that's why we're building the prototype, so I can do this stuff. I also have a new idea for how I want the game to go in terms of the mechanics, but I'll get into all that in just a second. So, Gunforged is available for purchase if you want to support my work and pick up a game that I believe is fun. Then you can check out the Gunforged Steam page. The link is down below. We're currently sitting at 43. Reviews 95% positive, so that's great. So yeah, if you purchase the game, consider leaving a review. And yeah, this is just a great way to support me as I try to continue on as a full-time indie game developer. But you can also purchase one of my Udemy courses. Those are linked in the description as well. They'll teach you how to build a complete game in the Godot engine. So if that's something that you're interested in, see the banner down there? There's a C# course, but there's also a GDScript course, so check those out. And thank you all for your support. All right, so hello Hori, welcome back. So I had an idea last night about this game. I think I want to lean more in the direction of like the extraction genre. So you know, extraction shooters like Escape from Tarkov and well, what else are extraction shooters? That's the only one I've really played, but the idea is that you go in with some gear and then you try to get better gear and you try to get out without dying. And if you get out without dying, then you keep everything that you had on you. And if you die, then there's various mechanisms for getting your gear back. But the basic idea is that you could go in fully geared up and die, and then you lose basically all that gear that you had. So it's kind of an interesting way of doing progression because you start off with nothing, you start extracting with stuff, build up your stash, and then once you have a built up stash, you could start equipping like your loadout the exact way that you want it to be. Obviously, I wouldn't go as deep as Tarkov, but I thought it would be interesting to have a system like that where you can extract maybe with your items that you have in your inventory if you win, and those can go into like a permanent meta stash, I guess you could say, that you could then use those items to go into more challenging encounters. So I'm going to think about that. I think that would be an interesting thing for this game. The problem is that, you know, I have to be wary of scope creep because obviously if players can go in like fully kitted, there needs to be more challenge. But I think there are ways that I can introduce more challenge without necessarily introducing new content. You think about like Diablo sort of like torment levels, right? Where the monsters become more difficult, but they don't really change, right? They become more difficult. They might get some new modifiers, but for the most part, it's just like the loop is you go into the low difficulty, you get a bunch of low tier items, but they're stronger than what you have. Then you go into the next tier difficulty, you kill a bunch of things, you get even stronger items, and you just kind of like get on this gear treadmill, you know? I think that'd be really fun, but in an extraction shooter kind of way, where if you die, then you kind of like get knocked back a peg or two, you know what I mean? So, that's kind of what I'm thinking, but that's obviously for way in the future. Right now, we just got to get the basic systems in place. So, again, focusing on combat and itemization first, and then we can build whatever supporting systems need to come out of that. So what I've got here is I started working on loot drops. So rather than directly equipping an item onto the player, let's see if I can, if I can kill this guy, that'd be great. There we go. So you can see we got some items on the ground here. A helmet and a sword. Now I can't actually pick these up yet, but this is a representation of the randomization system that I've got in place. So if I go to my room reward component here, I actually haven't randomized the items yet, but what you can see is that I have a loot table now where I can pick equipment and I can choose a random number from 2 to 4, and that will go ahead and grab a random piece of equipment, and the equipment can either be armor or weapons, and that will be dropped for the player, for the client. And I need to apply randomization here. So randomization would be randomize the damage, randomize the intelligence, randomize all that stuff, and also add any unique modifiers, right? So in classic RPG fashion, there are going to be a number of affixes that I think are going to be good. So, you know, you could have like lifesteal, or you could have 10% increased physical damage, or you could have, you know, fire damage, something like that, right? So that's kind of what I'm doing, thinking of doing anyway. So yeah, itemization in combat is going to be the next like big focus for me here. I need to get those systems feeling really good, and then I can think about, okay, what are the supporting systems, right? Like, what is the reason why you're going and itemizing and engaging in combat? So the first thing that I want to do, which is going to sound a little bit weird, but I want to add a tooltip for an item so that I know what I'm picking up. Hello, Snupbill. Thank you so much for the IDR 10,000 again. That's very much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you. And there's the classic message, Yummers. Thank you. Welcome back to the stream. It's always good to see you. So, like I said, this is going to sound a little bit weird, but we're going to start with, I wonder if I should set up a theme, actually. I should probably set up a theme here. Okay, fine. Create new folder. UI. Create new resource. So this is good for anyone that doesn't know how to set up a custom theme. So you want to go ahead and create a theme file, save it somewhere, and I just call it theme.theme. That creates your theme file, and a theme file is basically just a way that you can define all of your control themes in sort of one file. But the nice thing too is that if you go to project settings, and let's see if I remember where this is exactly, GUI theme, you've got this custom theme here. It's in the project settings. I don't know why exactly, but you go to resources or wherever you saved your theme, put it in there. It's going to ask you to save and restart, so you do that. But once you've added that theme into that project setting option, then your control nodes are automatically going to use that theme by default. So the reason that I did that is I can go into my theme here. I'm going to create a new custom type. It's going to be of type panel container. And I'm going to, oh wait, no. This is going to be a tooltip panel container. Okay. So there's my tooltip panel container, and I need to select the base type of panel container. Cool. And so now I can create this panel override here. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new style box flat. I'm going to make this very, very basic. So this background color here, we're going to take that. Where is this color coming from? It doesn't seem right to me. Oh, that's the wrong one. Oh yeah, there is like a dark gray. Okay. But I'm going to use this color. This is my outline color. This is my black color, basically. And let's do border width. Let's do 4. And the border color, we're going to do... What do we want to do for the border color? Guess we'll just do white. Okay, so I've set up a custom tooltip panel container here. So now if I do this, add child node, panel container. So here's the typical panel container. But now that I've created that custom type tooltip panel container, I can go here, theme type variation. I've got my custom type variation here. Boom. There's my tooltip. At least the tooltip panel container. So there's that. And I have no clue. This is probably going to look really ugly in game. So I might need to tweak that. But you can see that I haven't defined the theme here. This theme is empty. So it's inheriting from that project theme that I've set up. I'm also going to need a font. Well, let's just worry about that later. So VBox container, layout, container sizing. No, what am I doing? VBox container. Oh, you know what? I'm going to favorite this. Favorite property. Boom. Sweet. So we're going to do ignore on the mouse here. Actually, I should do ignore on all these. Okay, so VBox container, let's do a label. And this is going to be the item name. And what I'll do also is margin container. Margins are very important for UI. If you want to make your UI look better immediately, then just always make sure, first of all, always add margins. Give your elements some breathing room, but then you also want to be consistent with your margins, right? So if you're using a margin of 8 pixels in one UI, you should probably be using that same margin everywhere. So anytime you need to put padding in place, use the same number or the same small set of numbers. You don't want your padding to be all over the place. So there's the item name, and then we're going to have the stats. So the stats obviously are going to be, you know, I'm probably just going to generate a stat label that's just raw text here. Name label, and this will become ultimately its own, its own, let's call it item tooltip. Actually, I'll save this as a scene right now. Scenes, UI, item tooltip, reset, position, whatever, save. Cool. So get an item tooltip, and let's go ahead and create a script here for it. Scripts. There we go. Namespace game.ui. Node private label name label. Private label stat label. And here's what I'm going to do. This is going to be super easy. Public void set item resource. And then I'm just going to be able to do all this in here. So I'm going to say name label dot text is equal to item resource dot display name. And then stat label. So this is where I need to probably do this. If item resource is armor resource. And you know what I might do actually? I'm just thinking about the itemization. So right now the item resource has energy and health value. What I might do is I might just make these affixes as well. Yeah, so maybe we'll start building an affix system here very shortly for itemization purposes, but let's not worry about that just yet. We need to come up with a generic way of doing that, but we're going to say stat label dot text is equal to health armor resource dot health, and then let's just do /n/n. Well, maybe just one. Energy. Else if item resource is armor, or no, weapon resource. Damage. Weapon resource dot damage. Okay. So we've got the loot item here, and this position is going to need to change, but I'm just going to put this up here for now. Item tooltip. Let's grab a reference to that. Private item tooltip. Hello, Nadir. Is there a way in Godot to avoid using magical numbers and stuff like this, defining margin equals 8 somewhere and using that everywhere? Yeah, so that would go back to the theme here. So what you can do is if you go to your, if you add a type here, actually, can I edit this theme? Manage items. Yeah, I didn't want to add this, so we'll get rid of that. So what you could do is you could go to manage items here. Nope. I think if you do margin container, add. So there's your margin container. and then you can override properties. I actually don't know how to use that. Actually, I'm probably doing this wrong. So if I go to import items, I don't usually use this this screen. But if you go to import items and you go to margin container, you import this. You can choose which styles to import. So there's your constants. So you import the selected. Then you got your margin container here. And so now I can go to my margin container, go to that constants value, and I can put my defaults in here, right? You can also do it through this menu. So I could add a margin container from here. That's probably a little bit easier. But yeah, so that you would just add that to your theme. And then if you wanted to, you could add theme overrides for the margin container. So this could be like your default with 8 pixels and then, 8 pixel padding. And then what you could do is I think you could, how would I do this? Yeah, you do want to create your custom type. So you do like margin container. Let's say you wanted 16, so you could call it margin container 16, add type. And then your base type here would be margin container. And then you can override all these. And you could put your 16 value in there. And then what you should be able to do once you have that is you can go to your margin container, go to your theme, type variation margin container 16, and that should work. I have these overridden here, so if I were to remove these, you can see that the margin goes up. So that's how you would do that. If you wanted to, if you wanted to have a consistent set of padding for your margin containers, I'd probably just add a bunch of overrides with each of the individual margins configured. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. But I don't want that right now, so I'm going to remove those from my theme. And this item tooltip here actually needs to be... Oh, item tooltip. Wait a minute. Did I remove my panel container on accident? Oh, no, I didn't. Why is that not... I don't know why that's not updated. Where did my theme go? My theme's still there. Why is that not rendering correctly anymore? I must have messed with the theme too much. That's all right. I'm gonna set mouse whoops. Okay, in any case, so the item tooltip in here. Thanks for the explanation, you're welcome. Hello, Neozoid, welcome back. Hello, Dev by Slavi, welcome back to you as well. Do you normally document your work? What you learn or other experiences? No, I don't. The only form of documentation I have is really the whatever Kanban board I'm using. So for Gunforged, I had a big Kanban board where I was just keeping track of any ideas that I had, any work that I wanted to do, any work that I got done. So that's typically how I document, but I don't write comments. I don't write a game design document. And maybe I should, I don't know. But I've never found personally that game design document helps me that much because it ends up just changing so much that it becomes useless. It just becomes an extra thing to maintain, you know? But I think a game design document would probably be good if you were working on a team. So it could be like the source of truth for any decisions, but I'm not working on a team. And so, you know, adding extra processes to my workflow just for me is like not something I want to do, you know what I mean? So hold on a second. Hello, Luca, welcome back. This is how you relax and take time off. Yes, indeed. I like working. It's fun. You're currently fixing bugs from after the release? No, I'm working on a new prototype here, multiplayer prototype here. There actually haven't been that many bugs. Actually, no bugs really reported for Gunforged. There are quality of life improvements that have been suggested that I'll probably do at some point. Good morning, Christopher. I get annoyed when people tell me to stop working when I'm solving a fun puzzle that happens to be work-related. Yeah. It's like, you know, it's not a bad thing to not hate your work, you know? This is like, I mean, this is what I would do if I had a full-time job. I would be working on this project on the weekends anyway, you know? What else am I going to do with my time? I got nothing to do. Okay, so this loot item here. So we're going to do item tooltip, set item resource. And then public override void ready. So I'm going to want a couple of things here. Item tooltip dot visible is equal to false. So what I want to do probably for this loot item here is I want to add an interaction area component. And let's move this up a little bit, I suppose. And let's add a child node collision shape 2D. Let's favorite this property. Yeah, I like this new Godot 4.4 favoriting thing. I just wish that it didn't move the property out of where it originally came from. I would prefer it just duplicated the property so that I could find it both at the top but also in its relevant section. So if any Godot maintainers happen to watch this, I'm sure there's probably a reason why they didn't do it that way. Technical limitation or something. Okay, so interaction area component. So I need an extra signal in here. So signal public delegate void interaction area entered event handler signal public delegate void interaction area exited event handler emit signal name interaction area entered interaction area exited. Cool. Private interaction area component interaction area component dot interaction area entered plus equals on interaction area entered exited private void on interaction area entered private void on interaction area exited. So I'm going to need to be able to handle overlapping items as well, but we're not going to worry about that just yet. Item tooltip visible is equal to true. Item tooltip visible is equal to false. I've been enjoying the heck out of Gunforge. Thank you so much, Toothless. I very much appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Have you tried flipping the Godot make multiplayer switch? It would save you a lot of time here. Oh, I must have... Is that an add-on? I must have missed that. Shoot, that would save me a ton of time. No, the multiplayer stuff is... I'm not going to say it's solved, but like I think I have a very solid foundation, and so... You know, aside from the usual multiplayer oddities and bugs that are going to come up as a result of not syncing data properly, I think for the most part it's going to be pretty straightforward from this point on. Like once you get the good foundation in, it's just a matter of like making sure that when you're building this stuff, you're always building it with a mind for multiplayer and server authority specifically. So as long as you're just doing that from the ground up, it becomes a little bit easier. At least that's how my experience is going so far. It's not really slowing down the development much at all because I just have to make the data flow a little bit differently. But yeah. Is Gunforge costs money? Yes, it does. It does cost money. But you'll know that every purchase of Gunforge goes and plays a small role in me purchasing McDonald's, so you're helping to feed a starving indie dev when you purchase Gunforged. Please, sir, I need money, or ma'am. Anyway, so... Okay. Welcome back, Kiki Dev, by the way. I'd say it's worth it. Thank you. Appreciate that. And, you know, Gunforged is... The weird thing about Gunforged is that it has more wish lists now, like thousands of more wish lists right now, than it did at launch, which is a good thing, but that means that I need to probably run some sales in the future to convert some of those wish lists. So you're more than welcome to wish list the game as well and wait for it to go on sale if you'd prefer. Okay, so I'm just gonna see what this looks like. So for testing purposes, I'm just gonna make this easier. Where's my health component here? I'm gonna set this guy's health to 1. Want to give the cats catnip though. Okay, damage 1, damage 1. Why is my theme is broken now for some reason? My theme is broken now for some reason. If I reset this. Oh. My type variation went away? Why did that happen? Oh. The base type got removed here for some reason. Panel container. There we go. There we go. I don't know why that got removed. Must have been when I was doing stuff. Okay, so there's the iron helmet and then short sword. Short sword. So now I've got the display name. I'm gonna need to find a font at some point, but we'll do this. Are you planning to add multiplayer to Gunforged? Are you going to make a multiplayer roguelike? I am not planning on adding multiplayer to Gunforged, but this why is that so big? Oh. Well, that's tricky. Okay. I'm going to make a multiplayer roguelike. Yeah, this is my multiplayer roguelike that I'm making now. So this is going to be online multiplayer, online co-op multiplayer from the ground up. So these are so big because I have a little bit of a problem here. I have a little bit of a problem here, which is that, let me try this. Canvas layer. Just try something. So having that item tooltip, it's so the way I've got this set up. Oh, it didn't drop any items. Oh, because I need to make this unique. Whoops. So the way I've got this set up for UI purposes is that the canvas resolution is 1280 by 720, but I have the camera, the game camera, zoomed in by double to create a 640 by 360 screen view. So I get like big pixel art like this, but when I go to tooltips and whatnot, those need to be higher resolution, like the 1280 by 720 resolution. Now, I don't know why this isn't working. Oh, you know why? Let's do this. I'm gonna have to translate this. Okay, so you can see now that this is a lot sharper of a tooltip because now this is rendering at the 1280 by 720. It's not being, in other words, it's not being affected by the camera zoom because it's not, I don't know what you would say. It's not under the jurisdiction of the camera, I guess. So it's not being blown up. So now this is like a normal, smaller size. And that's necessary because I know that this game is going to have a lot of UI elements that have stats and whatnot. And one of the big problems in Gunforged was that the small screen size made it really hard to render a lot of information in the UI. So I'm keeping the game size 640 by 360 by doing the camera zoom, but then I basically have double the resolution for UI elements. So I can do stuff like this. And even this font is probably going to be a little bit smaller. but I'm just using the Godot default font here. So this gives me 100 energy. Now I can't pick these up, so that's the big problem. And also interacting with this glowing orb thing. I have to change how all this works, but yeah, so yeah, anyway. Do you know of any proper built-in way to convert input vector to vector 3xz components? I don't think there's a built-in way to do it, no. I don't think so, but I don't know for sure. You're making as Gunforged, same size room as Gunforged. I think what I'm going to do is, so initially I wanted to make this like a single screen kind of game where you just go into a room and like you play on this arena here. But I think with 4 players, it's going to be a little bit too tight to do much interesting. So the levels are going to be a little bit bigger than this, I think. And they're going to have interesting terrain, but they're not just going to be, I think there will be like walls and stuff just to add some interest to the combat. But yeah, the rooms are going to be, they're basically going to, it's better to think of them as arenas. You'll fight in an arena and then you'll get the option to go through probably one of 2 doors to choose your next adventure. So yeah, we'll see. Currently making a game called Worst Feeling. Oh, what is that about? I'm just copying out all the components or composing from 2 input axes. Yeah, I mean, are you using C#? Because you could do an extension method probably on the input object or the input. Yeah, the input class. No, you need, yeah, no, the input is static. Never mind. I don't think that would work. So this item tooltip is a little bit messy. Yeah, it's a singleton static, yeah. So the tooltips are going to be a problem here, but let's get this interaction area component actually working here. So interaction area component dot interacted. So on interacted, what do we want to do? On interacted, what do we want to do here? So let me go to my room reward component. On reward selection finished. So this needs to go away. So I basically need to do optimistically equip item. Okay, so optimistically equip item. So I think that's what I need to call here. So instead of doing all of this, do I even need this reference anymore? Maybe I do. In any case. So I get rid of that reward selection because so when I interact with that glowing orb in the middle, that was granting me the first item in the reward list. But now what I want to do is I actually want to do this. On interacted, this dot get server item manager dot optimistically. Where was it? Where was optimistically? Oh, player data manager. Right, that makes sense. This dot get player data manager dot optimistically equip item, and we're gonna want this item resource. So, oh, I'm storing a reference to it, am I? Yeah. So item resource. So what optimistically equip item does is it assumes that the player is going to be able to equip the item. So it updates the paper doll on the client side immediately, but then it sends a request to the server, says, hey, I want to equip this item. And what the server will do is the server will upon receiving this equip item RPC, it will check that the player has permission to equip the item, and then it will basically verify that and say, okay, yeah, you're allowed to equip that. Now, notify update paper doll. Yeah. So yeah, and then it will RPC that to all the other clients, telling them that this particular person has equipped that, and then it will update the server side data as well. So if I did everything correctly, that optimistically equipped item is just a nice way of me just saying, like, kicking off that whole process of updating that paper doll. So now if I go here and I equip the iron helmet, that should increase my energy here by 100. It did. Sweet. But now I need to delete that loot item. Did I have an error here? No. I mean, I do have errors, but they're not relevant. Hello? Go away, thank you. So yeah, I think what I'll do is just here and queue free this. That'll work. Now I have the problem of overlapping interaction areas. I think though, just to easily fix this for now, and I'll change this later, but I've got this signal here. What is the signal called? Rewards generated. On rewards generated, yeah, so in here, var initial direction is equal to mathutil.rng.rand direction times 64. Var direction delta degrees is equal to 360. Oh, if my rewards are 0, I'm gonna have to handle that. If rewards dot length is equal to 0, we'll just return out of that. Direction delta degrees divided by rewards dot length. Okay, direction delta, or initial direction. I guess I'll just call this direction. Direction equals direction dot rotated degrees, direction delta degrees. And then this here plus direction. So that should just space everything out nicely enough. Let's bump this up to 96. So I don't have to deal with overlapping equipment just yet. Okay. So there are my rewards. Short sword, iron helmet, short sword. So I can equip this, boom, there's my helmet. And I could equip this too if I wanted to. It's not gonna make a difference visually speaking, but that works. And then if I run around on this guy, equip that, boom. So the idea is that each player is gonna get their own rewards. So you can see that the loot is not synchronized to the clients. And so I think that's fine. To enable player trading, I'm going to allow players to drop items from their inventory, I think, and that will make the item appear for all clients as available for pickup. But players initially will get their own specific loot that they can interact with. Also learned the hard way that Vector 3 has no plus or minus operator with floats. Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah, I've noticed that Godot is very inconsistent in terms of when it uses doubles or floats. It's a little bit annoying. Just a little bit though. Okay, I'm trying to think of what I should do next. So, basic loot tooltips. So obviously I need to change this canvas layer, how that works, but I don't think I need to worry about that just yet. Yeah, I don't think I need to worry about that just yet. I'm trying to think. I mean, I need to focus on making the combat feel good, which means introducing multiple enemy types, making the enemies that do exist a little bit more compelling. Probably need to introduce some more weapons, some more attacks. Yeah, there's a lot of work to do. The weapons in particular are going to be a little bit tricky. Of course, I need an affix system as well. Probably have some way of selecting multiple different room types to fight in. Let me see. Test enemy. Let's make this 5 health. I need loot randomization. All that good stuff. Also, when the next wave starts, these all need to disappear. Because that's going to stay on the ground. So maybe I should do that real quick so I can get the loop going. So let's see. Notify peer reward selection finished. Check all peers ready if all peers ready. So we're going to do ready peers.clear, server peer rewards, and this peer rewards. Yeah. Server peer, all peers ready. Where is this being done? All peers ready. Entity spawner component.begin. So this is like the beginning of the sort of, well, yeah, this is not going to work. The players are going to be able to go to a different room. Let me think. So this doesn't really need to be a loop like there was in Gunforge, because you're not going to spend the entire time in the same room. It's going to be more like, I guess the formula would be more like Hades, right? Where you enter a room, you fight a bunch of stuff. Once they're dead, you choose the next room to go to. Let's just start by making the enemies a little bit more interesting, I think. Yeah, I think what I should do is just focus on the combat feel now that I've got those systems in place, and then I can start building on some more weapons and get the affix system going and whatnot. So let me go back to the entity spawner then. And this all needs to change too, but enemies to spawn, let's do 5. Okay, let's just see how it feels, and we'll go from there. Also, I need a dash. I think a dash would be nice to have. Here's my rewards. Oh, right. I was going to clear. That's one thing I need to do. I need to clear all the things. So I'm going to do something very basic real quick, just to get this loop working. It's not going to be a loop permanently, but on all peer rewards chosen, Do I have like a get room? Yeah, let's do this. Add this to the group. Let's do an RPC in here. Notify begin. This is not going to be permanent, so I'm not going to do that much effort on it. So on all peer rewards chosen, we're going to do emit, or no, not emit signal, this dot nice RPC, notify begin. And then in here, all I'm going to do is have a signal here. Public delegate void wave began. Event handler. Not going to be wave based, but just for the purposes of testing. Signal name dot wave began. And the reason that I'm doing that is now I can go into my game extensions. Oh, run manager. Run loot table manager. What? Run manager. Yeah, I mean this is fine. This is fine for now. Room, get room, room, and then in my loot item, this dot get room dot connect room dot signal name dot wave began callable dot from on wave began private void on wave began queue free. So we're just going to remove that so that we're not showing those anymore. Will players have an inventory to drag and drop items into respective slots? Yeah. So anytime you hear me talking about a paper doll, that's what that is. So a paper doll being like, here's all of your equipment slots, your helmet and your offhand and your main hand and your trinkets or whatever. And then you'll have an inventory that you can use to store items, but then equip items too. Okay, I'm going to ready up, and then this guy's going to ready up, and all of those should disappear. Perfect. Okay. Alrighty, so that works. Okay, it's very, very basic, but I just needed those things to go away, that's all. Okay, delete items on next wave start. Alrighty, so what am I doing? That's a good question. So let's figure out the combat. So the players can't take damage yet, and they can't die. So that would probably be a big one to do. I think for just testing purposes here, for combat reasons, I'll just play with one client. It's going to be really hard to test how the multiplayer feels with just one player. This is why I want to set up like play tests eventually for this. But if I can get it feeling good in a single player fashion, I think that would be awesome. Okay, so immediately what I'm noticing is that it would be kind of cool if the... Ooh, yeah. It would be kind of cool if the enemies had a little bit more of an interesting movement pattern. So let's see if we can get that kind of going here. All right, so let's look at the test enemy script. So in this state normal, it's pathfinding to the global position, or the current target's global position. Acquire target player. So what I'm going to do instead is set target position. I think it would be nice to have just trying to think. What would be nice is to have these enemies kind of circle around the player, so they're kind of like trying to surround the player. I think what I'll do is every time I acquire target player, what I'm going to do is in here, private vector to target offset direction. Acquire target player, I'm going to do this. Target offset direction is equal to mathutil.rng.randf rand direction times mathutil.rng.randf range 1664. And then when I go and I'm pathfinding, we'll take these things plus offset, target offset direction. Let's see what that does. So basically I'm just saying, okay, go to the target position, but offset in a random direction and a random distance. They'll just kind of go after me. Probably have some more variability in their attacks as well. Ooh. Obviously, I'm going to want to probably telegraph their attacks a little bit better as well, but what happens if I turn up this velocity a little bit? Okay, this is feeling a little bit better. Oh, yeah, you gotta be careful. So you see there's a little bit of flanking going on there where they can go around me. Okay, all right. I'm feeling like I have to dodge. This is gonna be a lot easier to tell what's going on though if I get some player damage in place. So before I go any further on any of the enemy AI stuff, I think it's going to be important to have that player health. So let's get that implemented. Minor tweak to test enemy AI. Yeah, so we're going to, let's see, how am I actually going to do that? That's a good question. That's a good question. That's a really good question. Test enemy. So I believe that in my weapon root, execute attack, I also need a way of defining a hitbox. Oh, shoot. Man, I need to rework the whole weapon system, I think. This might be a case where documenting all the requirements that I need for the weapon system would help me. Because the weapon system, I need to be able to swap in and out weapons, I need to be able to have a variable number of attack animations for combos purposes. The hitboxes need to have certain shapes and sizes depending on what combo you're on. So you can imagine, like, imagine you have a halberd or something and you do a big arc swing. That's going to need to be a big hitbox, right? But then let's say that the third attack in the combo is a stab, like a jab forward. You obviously don't want to use the same size hitbox, right? You want to have something that's more narrow and focused. So this weapon system, not only do I need to be able to define an arbitrary number of animations for the combos, but I also need to be able to define what shape to use for each combo and then align that shape in each direction. But then all this needs to continue to work if I swap out a weapon, right? If I go from two-handed to one-handed, now it just needs to work. So, I mean, I can make it work with what I've built here, but it's so messy. And also I'm designing this in a way where you can notice that the enemies can be humanoid, like humanoid enemies that also have hands with interchangeable weapons, right? So I want to use the same system for the players and the enemies to simplify things on my end. Not all the enemies are going to be humanoids, though. They're going to be, you know, they're going to be different types of creatures and whatnot, but you know, just for making my life a little bit easier, having the same system for both would work well. But anyway, in here, execute attack. If it's an enemy, it's going to burst with a damage. So damage, I'm going to need to determine how much damage these guys do as well. But from hitbox component. So I guess this would be as simple as, if I go to my player, if I add a hurtbox component, collision shape 2D, we'll use a rectangle. And for players, what I always do is I always make the player hurt box much smaller than their visuals. I think that's just good practice. You basically want to be in a situation where if the player gets hit, they can't say like, what, I didn't get hit by that, you know? They should ideally say, dang, I failed to dodge that. So this is the player hurt box that I'm going to use here. You see how much smaller that is than the visuals? So I'm giving, anytime, this is a good piece of advice that I learned. It's like, you always want to give the player the advantage, right? This is why things like coyote time exist, right? Like in platformers where you're able to jump even though, for a short period of time, even though you're not on the platformer. It makes the game feel good, but also it's just like an advantage given to the player. Like the player's not required to like be precise and say, oh, you have to press jump while you're still touching the ground, you know? So yeah, giving every advantage to the player is a good idea, and that includes making the hurt boxes very generous. So the attack hurt boxes are bigger for the player, or hit boxes rather, and then the hurt boxes are smaller. And then vice versa, right? The enemy hurt boxes are big, and the enemy hit boxes are small. So that's my hurt box component. What am I doing? How did I actually connect these up? Oh, health component. Oh, it's down here. Oh, it's underneath my favorites. Okay, I was like, what? Health component. Health component. I wonder if that's just gonna work. Let's see. I'm actually working on this myself on my finite state machine scripts, handle what hitboxes, what frames, where to put them, all the damage, and KB props, all that. The KB props, all the damage, and I don't know what KB is, I guess, but yeah. I'm looking forward to implementing that system in my game too. Knockback. Oh, I see knockback. Yeah. Yeah, I've got some knockback here. So yeah, the knockback. So yeah, the knockback in this game, and this is probably what you're doing too, Christopher, is like it's defined by the weapon stat, right? So like how, you know, how much knockback the weapon has. But it doesn't appear that I'm taking damage. Or at least I am taking, oh, I have 100 max health. That might be why. So let's do 10 damage here. Let's just multiply it. And I'm just going to make sure that this player UI Yeah, so this should automatically be working. So let's see. I think the enemies were just doing 1 damage at a time. Unless they're not, are they not spawning? No, they should be spawning hitbox components. Oh, you know what it is? I'm using the enemy layer. Okay, that's a problem. Player, and then the hitbox. Yeah, collision layer is equal to 1 shifted over 17. Right? Or no, that would be 16. Okay, let's see if that works. I also have growth, knockback growth based on how much damage they already have. Oh, very nice. Very cool. Are you using C#? I am. How have you implemented the combo attack system? Am I taking damage? Oh, I am taking damage, but it keeps resetting to full. Why does that happen? That's strange. How have I implemented the combo attack system? So it's pretty basic at this point. I basically just have in my short sword here 3 animations for swing. Swing 1, swing 2, and swing 3. And then based on which combo counter I'm on, which I pass in here in the play attack animation, it determines which animation to play. That's basically it for now. I mean, the combo is going to get a little bit more complicated after or in a while, but that's all I'm doing right now for that. And then of course I apply a little bit of forward momentum to the player when they're attacking, and also to the enemies. Oh yeah, and in terms of actually determining if your attack is a valid part of a combo, yeah. So basically, the animation is playing. There's a certain duration where inputs are not listened to. So let's just say during the first 75% of the animation, any input attack is just ignored. But then during the last 25%, I'm listening for another attack input. And even though the animation may still be playing, if an attack input is registered at the end of the animation or near the end of the animation, it buffers that input and says, okay, I'm going to execute another part of the attack combo when the animation is done. So again, that's kind of like coyote time in that you're not required to wait until the animation is done to queue up your next combo attack. You just have to do it near the end of the animation. And then there's a certain grace period too. So after the animation finishes, there's like 0.3 of a second or where you still have your hand in position. And if you execute an attack input, then you'll go into the next combo. But if that window passes, then the combo gets reset and the hand gets reset. So yeah, it's about managing like the timing windows and stuff like that. Yeah, in order to make it feel responsive, you do need to do that kind of input buffering. And then you also need to have a grace period at the end of the animation where if the player's a little bit late, you can still handle that as well. You don't want to require precise timing for this kind of stuff. So yeah, so one problem I have, I think this is going to be interesting. This current health rollback synchronizer, I think that's not going to work because the health is being changed Yeah, so the rollback synchronizer, so you're not supposed to change any properties that are in the rollback synchronizer for NetFox that don't get modified during a rollback tick. And the current health is being modified outside of a rollback tick. So I think what I'll do is I'll use the multiplayer synchronizer instead. So this multiplayer synchronizer, I'm going to do health component dot health, or a colon health rather. And we're going to do this on change. We'll do this one on change too. Okay, so now if I join, so that value is not being synchronized to this player. Oh, there's an error here. It says there are 1,600 errors. Oh, here. Health component, health. Oh, current health. Yeah. Oops. My bad. Can I not edit this? Oh, please, Godot. So yeah, I'm going to manage those health values separately. Now there's going to be a little bit of a lag here though, because that multiplayer synchronizer, I think it's only... This multiplayer synchronizer is only running delta interval. Oh, I see. So this current, let's do always for that one. Right, so this is being replicated immediately. So this on change here. Yeah, so I don't think I need the player health. So for energy purposes, what I'm doing on the client is I am simulating the energy consumption and regeneration on the client, but then every so often the server will send the correct state to force the client to prevent any drift from the client. And that's to make the energy feel responsive, right? So when I use an attack, my energy goes down immediately. I'm playing on the server right now, but I'm just explaining it. So when I use an attack, the energy goes down immediately. And then I also am regenerating the energy on the client in accordance with whatever my stats are. But in the case that those two things, the server and the client, ever become in disagreement, the server is twice a second sending the real number over to the client and saying, hey, this is the number you should use, and then the client will force itself to be that value. If everything's in sync, that forcing of the value should never be noticeable because they're going to be doing the same calculations basically. It's going to be imperceptible that whatever drift might happen. But for the health, that's a little bit more complicated because if I wanted to simulate the health loss, I would have to potentially simulate all kinds of stuff that might only exist on the server side. So I'd have to synchronize so much more state so that I could get a correct damage calculation. Like, you know, I mean, there could be things like armor, there could be things like buffs, there could be things like an enemy has a special kind of weapon that does extra damage, and I don't know if I necessarily want to synchronize all of that game state so that I can make a correct health calculation. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to allow the server to own that health, and then if it takes 100 milliseconds for the player to receive their updated health, that's fine. I don't think that necessarily needs to be responsive. And the other problem too is that, you know, if there's some latency in the movement, I may register a hit on the client side that decrements my health, but the hit didn't get registered on the server side, and so now I'm in a situation where the health value goes down because I think I got hit, and then, oh, never mind, it goes back because the server didn't register the hit. And there's all kinds of questions there of like, if I go down to 0 health on the client and I optimistically die, but then the server says, oh wait, you didn't die, how do I revert that state? So I think to keep things simple for now, I'm just going to allow the server to just tell the client when their health has gone down and not have the client try to optimistically update that stuff. Again, it's a little bit different for the energy because when you're playing the game and you're swinging your sword, you need to be able to see how much mana / energy you have, and that needs to be updated in real time so you can figure that out, you know? Now, one thing that's interesting is, yeah, that's fine. Okay. Let's see component velocity, open attack combo, look at transform. Yeah. I think that's all good. I tied all my states to the exact lengths of the animates they control, so I have concept of first active frame that I use to determine before the end of the anima if the next state should be attack or idle. Oh, very nice. Yeah, that's cool. That sounds like a good system. I cannot do as nice of a system because I have to work with like network timings and stuff, so it's a little bit wonkier. Okay, so we need to handle player death as well, but I'm not going to worry about that just yet. So handle player hits, enemy hits on player. Okay, so now we can go back into some of the combat stuff. But first, I'm going to take a quick 2-minute break. So if you're interested in supporting my work, you can purchase Gunforged. It's linked in the description below. You can also purchase one of my Udemy courses if you're interested in that. It's a great way to learn how to build a game in the Godot engine and also a great way to support me. So give me 2 minutes. I'm going to get a refill on my drink and I'll be right back and we'll continue on with this work. I'm back. The cat wanted to say hi, and by the cat wanted to, I mean she's like, please put me down. Hi. Okay, bye. All right, so what am I doing? Combat stuff. Combat stuff. Hello, good feline. Yes, she's good. She is good. Okay, so got some more. Yeah, so this is feeling pretty good. I want to add, I need to add some like hit effects and whatnot to make the combat feel even better. Oh, I took some damage there. Oh, yeah. So what's fun about this combat is that like you do have to somewhat commit to an attack, because as soon as you start attacking, you're moving forward into the enemy. So I kind of borrowed this idea from the Souls games, right? Like when you attack, there is a period of time where you can abort the attack, which I do want to add. And maybe adding a dash right now would be kind of a good thing to do. But like once you're kind of in the throes of the animation, like you're basically committed to it. So that means that if an enemy was winding up their attack at the time you committed, you have no choice but to like take that hit. So the point is like what I want there to be is I want there to be a balance between like having to commit to an attack, but also being able to like abort or cancel an attack if you like made a decision and then you like split second later change your mind. So it shouldn't feel clunky, but it should also feel deliberate to the extent that like you can't just freely move while you're doing your attack animation, you know, like you need to choose your opportunities to attack. And that's going to be especially interesting in boss fights where like if a boss is telegraphing an attack and like you started to swing, well, you know, you better hope that your swing finishes before the boss attack does. Otherwise, you're taking damage. So it's actually feeling pretty decent. I'm going to add a dash now, I think. And yeah, we're just going to see. We're going to see how that feels. And I still haven't decided what I want, how I want the dash to work. Because I wanted to simplify things and have just like an energy stat, and the energy stat is kind of like stamina and mana all rolled into one, meaning that if you're casting spells, you're going to use energy. If you're swinging your sword, you're going to use energy. If you dash, you use energy. So it's like, it's basically just the resource that you use for all of your combat-oriented activities. But I don't know if that's going to work because I mean, it should work. We're going to try tying the dash to energy. We're going to try making the dash an energy cost first, and then we'll see how that feels. Having to face tough decisions about my own kitty soon. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Poor health or old age or something. I mean, I feel it. My male cat, he has heart disease, and he's fine for now, but you know, the likelihood is that he's not going to live to old age, and I'm going to have to make a tough decision some point in the future. Old age, she's 18. I'm sorry to hear that, but at least you got those nice 18 years, right? That's to get 18 years out of a good pet is a beautiful thing. So, dash. Let's see. Right, so my state machine is down here. State machine.add child, new state machine state. Let's do state dash. So private void display enter state dash. Private void enter state dash. Private void state dash. So enter state dash, rewindable state, previous state, long tick. And then this is double delta, long tick, bool is fresh. Okay, so state dash method name dot state dash dot set enter state dash set display enter state dash. So we've got the states added to the state machine. And let's see. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this display state just yet, but enter state dash. So what I'm going to want is the movement. Input properties movement vector. So, I guess what I'll do is just velocity component dot force set velocity. We're gonna do movement vector. So var movement, let's do var direction is equal to movement vector. No, is equal to player input component dot movement vector dot normalized. So we're gonna do direction times, and I don't know, let's just do a constant up here. Private const float dash speed equals 400. Private const float dash decay. We'll set that to 6 maybe. And so in here, direction times dash speed. Okay, and then in state dash velocity component dot decelerate. Where am I doing this? 15. Oh, with the smoothing, yeah. So dash decay delta. If velocity component dot length dot velocity dot length is less than, what is my speed? Max speed. I don't know if I want to use the velocity here. I might just introduce a timer, but let's just do velocity component dot max speed. Then we're gonna say state machine dot transition method name dot normal, state normal. I'm actually going to probably change this. Yeah, I might change that. I mean, not the source code, but I'd rather just pass in a delegate name here, transition state normal. But that's very particular to how I'm using it, so. Okay, so state dash transition there. Okay, cool. So if I did everything correctly, oh, I didn't do everything correctly because now I need to gather the dash input. So project settings, let's do dash, nope, wrong field, dash, space physical, okay. I wonder how, I guess key rebinding should work, but anyway. If can attack, tick. Otherwise, let's do another, let's just follow the pattern here, can dash, tick, long tick. Because I'm going to need to determine, like, okay, am I in the middle of an attack animation? Oh no, no, if I have to be in the state normal. Okay, so anyway, if can dash long tick, what we're going to do is, let's just return player input component, and I need to gather that dash input now. Private bool is dash pressed sticky public bool is dash pressed. Is owned by client. Am I using this? Oh yeah, very nice. Else if input.isAction just pressed action dash actually I don't think that needs to be an else. We'll just do if is dash pressed equals true, is dash press sticky equals true. Okay. Okay. I have an error in here somewhere. Where is the error? Oh. Okay. So now in here is dash pressed. We're not using that tick right now, so maybe I'll just remove that. Else if can dash clear input buffers. I probably do want to do that. Clear input buffers, state machine dot transition, method name dot state dash. All right, let's see what a disaster I've made. Yeah. Oh, did I forget to do... I forgot to call network move, did I not? Yeah. All right, so host. Oh, that is a puny dash. I mean, it works, but it's just terrible. So I think we just jack up the dash speed here. And I do want to allow some steering during the dash too, because I enjoyed how that felt in Gunforged. That's too high now. I think what I want to do actually is let's turn this up to 800 and then turn up the decay as well. So I get a quicker dash, but it's not as... I want a quick dash that covers a relatively small distance. Okay, that's probably covering a little bit too much distance, but that does feel good. So I'm just going to bump the decay up to 12 now. Bump the decay up to 12. Okay, that feels decent. So if I can dash away, it still feels a little bit too far reaching. So we'll try 700 for the dash speed instead. There we go. So I just want to be able to put, like, you know, a couple units of distance, like enemy arm lengths away, you know. Yeah, that feels good. And then there's of course going to be room in the game for like increasing the dash length or whatever, like in Gunforged, you know. Honestly, I might even... Let's do 650 and 11. Such a small change, but I'm curious. Just, it feels just a little bit too jerky right now. Oh. And the other thing I need to do is give my character iframes during the dash, which is going to be a nightmare to test with the rollback stuff, I think, but we'll see. And it doesn't work at all. That dash doesn't work. How does it? Yeah, it's not working at all on the, oh, you know what? It's because I forgot to put that input in the rollback synchronizer here. Player input component is dash pressed. That should do it. That's the one thing I forgot to do. Okay, so now it's working. So we need to make this cost energy as well. Ugh. The short sword living up to its name. So there's a lot that I can do still with this dash. Like I said, I want to allow, yeah, maybe I should, okay, so initial dash work. Maybe I will allow some element of steering here. So what I will do is I will actually, let's create a private. Why is this attack velocity public? Am I... I don't think I need this to be public. Oh, is this even used anywhere? Wait a minute. Is this not used anywhere? Oh, it's not. Goodbye. Okay, so private vector to dash direction. So if I do this... display, so enter state dash, we're going to store that. Dash direction is equal to that. Dash direction. Then in this velocity component, what I'm going to do is, let's see. I'm going to create a new public method in here. Public void align to direction, float smoothing double delta, var desired direction. Oh, this needs to be vector to direction. So we're going to do desired direction is equal to direction times velocity dot length. So we're going to make a desired direction the same length as the current velocity. And then I'm going to do and then I'm going to do, what am I going to do? Velocity is equal to velocity dot slurp desired direction 1f minus mathf dot exp negative smoothing times delta. Okay, so this aligned to direction. Now what I can do in here is I can say, okay, so I'm going to decelerate the velocity, but then I'm going to have my own like movement here. So I'm going to say, let's do private const float dash steering smoothing. We'll do 1 for now. And then in here, I'm going to say velocity component dot align to direction, player input component dot movement vector. Actually, if player input component dot movement vector dot length squared. I guess I can just do not equal to vector 2.0. Then we're going to align the current velocity to that movement direction. Player input component dot movement vector dot normalized. Smoothing dash steering smoothing delta. So that should give me a little bit of control in terms of my dash. I should be able to steer very slightly. So the reason I'm using that align to direction is that that's just going to become a rotation, essentially. Actually, I can't really notice it. I think the smoothing is a little bit too much. If I turn off, let's do this. If I turn down this dash decay, I should be able to see the steering taking effect. You're 18 too, very nice. How old are you? I am 30 years old. I am 30 years old. Okay, so you can see how if I have the dash, you see how I can curve downward a little bit? So there's a little bit of steering that I can do while I'm dashing, which is great, but I want to turn this up probably to something a little bit higher. So if I host, yeah, so you can see how I got a little bit of control over which direction I'm going, which is great. It's just that tiny little bit. So then I'm going to put this back up to 11. It's not going to be super noticeable, but it's one of those things where like it does feel a little bit more responsive. Especially with a controller where you've got like analog input, you can definitely get a little bit more steering going on. Nice. Okay, so that's working great. We need to make this cost energy now. So private const float dash energy cost. Let's just set it to 15 for now. We're going to take this. Is within threshold, energy component current energy, dash energy cost. Okay, and then I should be able to say consume, yeah, energy component here. So in my enter state dash energy component dot consume dash energy cost. So yeah, the alternative, if I don't make dash use energy, the alternative would be to the alternative would be to make it on a cooldown, and I don't really like that. I generally, my opinion on games and like having mana and stamina, my opinion is generally like, you should be able to cast the ability if you have the resources to cast it. Like cooldowns, I understand cooldowns and they're like, you know, they're necessary in some games, but I think my ideal game would be like, you can use the ability as long as you have the resources to do it, you know? If this ability costs 100 mana, then as long as you have 100 mana, go ahead, spam it, you know? Like this idea that, no, it costs 100 mana, but also then you gotta wait 10 seconds before you can use it again. It's like, that's kind of lame. That's kind of lame. If you don't want players to be using that as often, just increase the mana cost, right? Doesn't that make more sense? Like, okay, so let's say your mana pool is 100 and you have a really powerful ability. Why wouldn't you just make it like 80 mana, right? So it's like, oh yeah, if you want to cast this, you basically can't do anything else. If you want to spam this ability, you gotta wait until your mana's back up to 80 again, you know? Like, isn't that just kind of like a built-in cooldown timer already? Anyway, rant over, I guess. Rant over. So anyway, all of that is to say, like, I don't want to put the dash on a cooldown. I'd much rather just have it use the energy, and you can dash if you have the energy, and you can't dash if you don't. Actually gonna bump up the energy cost a little bit. But yeah, I got a nice little framework going on here. So I want to experiment with being able to cancel an animation too. So during the wind-up phase. So I'm going to see if I can actually do that. Let's see. Firstly, let me commit what I have. Dash, energy, cost, and smoothing improvements. So, let me think. What am I doing? Oh, right, canceling the animation. So I think that should be supported by the system that I've got going on in here. So basically what I want to do is, in my enter state attack, enter state, oh, is there like a state attack wind up? No. State attack swing. Okay, yeah, state attack swing. So during this state attack here, if not hand component weapon root, is wind up animation playing tick. So the thing here, this might be bad. I might need to rework how the weapon animations and all that work. I mean, there are new, let's see. I think I just need to, I probably need to just sit down and think about how I'm going to make this weapon system work. But there are like animation, like you can put in markers. Don't remember how to, I don't know how to do that though. That's a new feature in Godot 4.4. Animation playback track. What is this? Insert marker. Here we go. Marker name, begin swing, begin wind up. So if I look at my animation player, the thing that I'm concerned about is that if I'm at the end of my wind up animation, and I cancel the animation, I think that there's a chance, there's a possibility that this execute attack could still be called in certain situations. Maybe not, but it'd be easier, it'd be better if I could just say, okay, play from here to here, and then when the server confirms that you can go on to the next one, go on to the next one. Because right now it just plays all the way through. Which I'm not even entirely sure that this is the proper way to do these animations either. So I have to do some thinking about this. But what I want to try is this animation player. Actually, let's just go to the docs. I'm curious to see if there's a way to play a range between two markers. Play section. Plays the animation with key name in the section starting from start time and ending on end time. Well, I could do that. See also play section with markers. Plays the animation with keyframe in section starting from start marker and ending on end marker. That's exactly what I was looking for. So if I needed to have more fine control over the animation, I could play that first section first. Wait until the server has confirmed that the animation can continue and then play that second section. So that's good to know. I'm not going to worry about that just yet, but that is a tool in my belt that I can use. But let's just go back to basic animation canceling. So the idea is that it's actually good. I've split this into two states. So I've got state attack swing and state attack. So this should ideally be called enter state attack windup. And I may actually rename this. Yeah, I think I will rename this. For clarity. So display enter attack windup. Enter state attack windup. State attack windup. So during the state attack windup, I should be able to detect if can dash. So in here, if can dash, we're going to clear the input buffers. Where am I canceling the animations? Cancel. So in my test enemy, I have animation canceling. Hand component, cancel attack animation. Yeah, so cancel attack animation, cancel attack timing. I want to do both of those things. Do I have an exit display? Display exit state, yes. But shoot. Okay, well, let's just do it in here. I put this in the wrong area. We don't want to be able to dash during the swing. We want to do it during the windup. Okay, so we're going to cancel the attack animation. We're going to cancel the attack timing. We're going to enter the state dash, clear the input buffers. It would probably be cleaner to do private void exit state normal. Can I do an exit state? State normal dot set exit state normal. This needs to be the next state. Okay, so rewindable state, next state, long tick. I think what I'll just do is do player input component dot clear input buffers here. So that way I don't need to do it here and I don't need to do it here. But then I'll probably also do the same thing for the no, I think I should probably keep it here as well. Clear input buffers. Okay, so that's fine. So I'm going to cancel the attack animations, clear the input buffers, transition to the state dash, which cancel attack time. Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, I could do this on enter dash, but I think it makes more sense to put it in here in the state attack windup. So I don't know. Let's see if it works. And we'll have to test this networked as well. Okay, so if I do this. Okay, so there's actually, it's a very narrow window. Is this even working? I can test it. So the wind up speed scale, I'm going to turn this down to 1. So I have more time during the wind up. Post. So you can see how when I enter my wind-up state here, it's very slow, but I can dash out of it. But as soon as I enter the attack state, I can no longer dash. So I guess the timing is just very, Ooh, you know what else I'm noticing? The energy consumption is happening on the enter state wind-up. So I'm gonna change that. Enter state attack wind-up. Yeah, this energy consumption here, this should not happen until the attack swing. So that way if I cancel it, it's not using my energy. So yeah, I mean, it's a little bit tight, but like you can click and then dash. Yeah, ideally, I mean, I guess it's not that important with like a short sword because it's very quick, but I can definitely attack animation. It's just, or cancel attack animation. It's just hard to do it with such a low windup. But for like a two-handed weapon, that's definitely going to have a longer windup. That attack cancel is definitely going to be noticeable. The short sword is so quick already that it's just not that useful. But again, if I just go ahead and test it with the weapon root here and I turn this wind-up speed scale down quite a bit, you can see that that I can exit that state. So you see how I wind up and then I dash, wind up. Oh, I failed to dash there. Dash, dash, dash. And then the energy only gets consumed after I've actually swung the sword, swinged the sword. Swing to swang, swung. And my energy bar is a little bit wonky. I have to fix, I guess my energy bar isn't working that well. I don't understand that. I'll have to debug that later. But in any case, turn this back up to 4. There's one other thing that I want to do before moving on, and that is when I enter the state dash, if my movement vector is 0, if dash direction is equal to vector 2.0, then what I'm going to do is I need to choose a different dash direction. Dash direction is equal to... Do I have like a center position? Why is this size? That's so weird. Okay. I'm going to take this hurtbox component, move this up to the center, reset that position. Okay. Public vector 2 center position is equal to hurtbox component, which I need a reference to. Hurtbox component.global position. So dash direction is equal to player input component.mouse position dot direction to center position. And so now if I don't have any movement input, it's just the dash is gonna happen in the opposite direction of wherever I'm aiming instead of 0. So if I do this, but if I'm moving, it's gonna happen in the direction of my movement. So that's just a nice quality of life thing, so that when you dash, it's gonna do something useful if you don't have any movement input. You could also be fancy if you wanted to and be like, oops, sorry boys. So anyway, cool. So that helps. Yeah, I gotta figure out why I guess I'm gonna be debugging that energy bar some more. But the dash is working. Oh, I still need to make it so that way you have iframes. That actually should be relatively easy. Let's grab a reference to the hurtbox shape. Node private collision shape 2D hurtbox shape. Enter state dash hurtbox shape dot disabled is equal to true. So we'll disable that hurtbox shape. And then we need a exit state dash, private void exit state dash, rewindable state next state, long tick, I think. Yeah. Hurtbox shape dot disabled equals false. Okay, and then in state dash, set enter state, set exit state dash. Perfect. Okay, I have no idea how I'm going to test that. Editor visible collision shapes, I guess. Or debug visible collision shapes. We'll see how this goes. Literally doing dash right now too. Nice. Very nice. I love programming the combat for these kinds of games. It's very satisfying for some reason. Aside from the frustrating parts that can happen, but... Okay, I literally cannot tell if the shape is being disabled. So what I'll do is I'll just turn down the dash decay and watch. Yeah, okay, it's definitely being disabled. So you can't see it on the stream very well, but this box turns gray when it's disabled. So it may only end up being disabled for like a couple of server ticks, but better than taking damage. And what I could do as well is, I think what some games do is like also just keep the vulnerability in place for a little bit after the dash finishes. Just so that if you like if you dash into an enemy attack, you get a little bit of grace period where you're still not going to be able to be hit. But, you know, I'll just do that for now. So what did I do? So animation or attack canceling and dash iframes. Iframe means something totally different to a web developer. Okay, so I'm gonna need to debug that bar, that energy bar. Ugh, I don't want to. See how the bar is jumping around a bunch? I'm also jittering quite hard. Is this repo open? I'm super curious at some of what your code looks like. Hello, and Peters? No, the repo is not open because this is going to be my next, well, it might be my next commercial game. We'll see how the prototyping goes, but is there anything in particular that you're curious about? I can maybe go over it really quickly. So yeah, I guess I'll just describe what this game is going to be again, just for anyone that's watching the VOD or who has maybe tuned in and is wondering what I'm making. So this is a multiplayer co-op RPG roguelike. The idea is to condense the RPG leveling experience into a single run. So if you imagine typical RPG progression is you start at level 1, you kill a bunch of things, you level up, you fill out your skill trees, you start finding new equipment and all that stuff. But that usually takes like tens of hours, right? Well, imagine you get that same, or not the same experience, but you get a similar experience, but in like 30 or 45 minutes in a single run. And you can bring your friends into it as well. So the idea is that you'll start basically at level 1 every run. You'll get a bunch of loot, you'll get a bunch of skill points, you'll fill out your skill trees, you'll gear up, and then and then you just try to beat the run with your friends or by yourself. It's going to be playable solo as well. And that's kind of the general idea of the game. I'm still thinking about like what all the systems are going to look like. I'm kind of thinking about the idea of making it sort of like an extraction shooter where you can leave the run with really good gear, and that gear that you keep you can take into a future run, or if you die you lose everything that's on your character. So that's kind of like, I mean, those are just broad strokes of what I think this game is going to be. I'm going to let the prototyping kind of and the experimentation just kind of lead wherever it's going to go. But yeah, that's the idea. The state machine and online stuff. Yeah, well, I'm using NetFox for the online stuff, which is, there's documentation for that. And I'm also using a rewindable state machine, which is like a rollback aware state machine. So yeah, but you're right. It's not something that I can get into. I mean, I don't really understand how the rewindable state machine works exactly either. So I just know how to use it. But yeah, it's not open. You know, if I end up not going with this prototype for some reason and I decide to make a different game, then I'll definitely consider open sourcing it for anyone that wants to look at it. But as long as it's intending to be something that I release, because there are just there are issues with open sourcing it, like if I use sound effects and whatnot, you know, I may not have the license to make those open and available. It's just those are the kind of the reasons why I can't do that. Hello, Suhid, welcome back. Okay, well, sorry, Suhid, you're just in time for me to end the stream, but I am going to end the stream here. We got a little over 2 hours of stream done today, so that's great. Making really good progress. Of course, we'll be working on this game some more later today. Not on stream, but just by myself. But yeah, if you're interested in supporting my work, you can purchase Gunforged. The link for that is the first link in the description below. 43 reviews, 95% positive, so that's great. So if you purchase it, consider leaving consider leaving Gunforged a review, consider leaving me a review, and you can also check out my Udemy courses. Those will teach you how to build a complete game in the Godot engine if you're interested in that. And yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Thanks for interacting and chatting. And of course, thank you also to the VOD watchers and the lurkers out there. Very much appreciate you as well. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, you know, all that good YouTuber stuff. And I will be back at streaming tomorrow at the normal time because it's a weekday, 10 a.m. Eastern. So I hope to see you there. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a good day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.